Ever notice how some days just seem to stick with you? Like you can remember exactly where you were and what you were doing when you heard the news.
Oh, absolutely. Certain dates just become etched in your memory, right?
Yeah, and for a lot of us, especially sports fans, January 26th, 2020 is one of those days. It's the focus of our deep dive today.
Makes sense. Big day. Lot to unpack there.
Definitely. And, we've got a ton of information to go through, trying to make sense of it all, really understand what made that day so significant. So, January 26th, 2020, where do we even begin?
Well, you almost have to start with Kobe Bryant, right? I mean, it's impossible to talk about that day without him being at the center of it all. Just his name, you know? It brings up so much the intensity, the championships, the worldwide fame.
Right. It's like he transcended basketball. He became this global icon.
Exactly. And what's striking is how that day, it began like any other Sunday, and then boom, everything changed.
Yeah, it was just so sudden.
Yep.
And I think that's part of what made it so hard to process. Kobe, he wasn't just an athlete. I mean, he was like this force of nature, this embodiment of pushing limits. And that resonated with so many people, myself included. I remember that morning, the news started coming in about a helicopter crash in Calabasas, California.
Calabasas, right?
And at first, it was just like, okay, a helicopter crash, tragic. But then the details started to emerge, the names. And it was just like unbelievable. Kobe, his daughter Gianna, and 7 others. It was just this heavy, heavy feeling.
It's interesting, though, when you step back and look at Kobe's career, how multidimensional it really was. 5 NBA championships, 2 finals MVP awards. I mean, those achievements alone are incredible.
And you can't forget the Oscar.
Oh, right, for Dear Basketball, which is something I really wanted to touch on. It shows you this whole other side of him, this creativity, this depth. Like, here's this guy who dominated on the court, and then, bam, he wins an Academy Award. And then on top of all that, from everything we know, he was a truly dedicated father.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for a lot of people, when they think about Kobe, Mamba mentality comes to mind almost immediately.
Yeah.
It's like he created this whole philosophy, not just about basketball, but about how to approach any challenge in life. That relentless pursuit of excellence, the refusal to be outworked. It's really powerful stuff.
And I think that's a big part of why his loss resonated with so many people. It wasn't just about basketball. It was about this mindset, this approach to life that he embodied.
Definitely. And it's important to remember, on that particular day, that Sunday, Kobe and Gianna, along with everyone else on board, they were heading to the Mamba Sports Academy. Gianna had a youth basketball game. She was a rising star herself with dreams of playing in the WNBA one day.
And what's interesting, they were using Kobe's private helicopter, which he often did, especially to avoid that LA traffic. I mean, it allowed him to be more present with his family, right? More time with his kids.
That was his priorities.
For sure. And tragically, the weather that morning, and this is something that's detailed in a lot of the reports we looked at, the weather was pretty awful. Dense fog, really hazardous flying conditions.
Yeah, not good.
And as far as we know, the crash happened a little after 9:45 a.m., right there in the hills near Calabasas. You can only imagine the confusion, the disbelief as the news started to spread. Like, is this really happening?
That initial uncertainty is always the worst, right?
Yeah.
Hoping it's not true, waiting for more information.
Absolutely. But as more details came out, it became clear. It was a tragedy. And then this wave of grief just poured out, and it went way beyond the sports world. It was global.
It really was. And the scenes, I mean, you saw it all over the news. Fans flocked to Staples Center, right?
Yeah.
Kobe's home court. It became this massive, spontaneous memorial. People laying flowers, candles, sharing stories, just trying to process it all together.
Powerful images.
And then you had the tributes across the NBA. Teams taking those 24-second and 8-second violations to start games, his jersey numbers. It was this quiet but incredibly powerful acknowledgement.
And I think when we zoom out and look at the bigger picture, those tributes weren't just routine gestures, right? They were symbolic, a way for the basketball community to express their collective grief and respect. It transcended the usual rivalries. It showed you the impact Kobe had universally on the game, and everyone connected to it.
Yeah, for sure. And when you look at the reactions from some of the biggest names in basketball, it's really striking. LeBron James, for example, he just passed Kobe on the all-time scoring list the night before. You could just see the raw emotion on his face.
LeBron.
And then Michael Jordan, someone that Kobe idolized growing up, called him his little brother. I mean, that speaks volumes about their relationship, right? Mm-hmm. And Shaq, his former teammate, they had their differences over the years, but his words were so heartfelt. You could feel the genuine loss. It was a moment where all that competition, all that history, it just faded away. And it was just about shared grief.
And what's really fascinating when you think about those individual reactions is what they reveal about Kobe's impact on different levels. LeBron, it highlights this passing of the torch, that respect between generations of greatness. Jordan, it speaks to mentorship, a genuine personal connection. And Shaq, it shows the camaraderie, those battles they fought together, the championships they won. It really paints a picture of a man who built deep, meaningful relationships throughout his career.
Absolutely. And I think what's also clear is that Kobe Bryant's legacy, his influence, it continues, right? Mamba mentality, it's not just a catchphrase. It's this living, breathing thing that inspires people to push themselves.
Right, you see it everywhere. And it's crucial to remember his commitment to women's basketball, his belief in Gianna, her dreams of playing in the WNBA, his support for the sport at all levels, especially for young girls. That's a huge part of his legacy that keeps growing.
Definitely. You see it in the way the NBA honored him. The 2020 All-Star Weekend, that whole event, it was basically a tribute to Kobe. And then beyond basketball, you have these amazing murals popping up all over the world, these artistic expressions of the love and respect people still have for him.
And looking past his playing days, his post-retirement ventures are so interesting when you consider his drive. He didn't just relax, he went full force into storytelling, writing children's books, things aimed at inspiring young minds. And then you have the Oscar for Dear Basketball, a pretty remarkable achievement, showing his creative talents in a totally different arena. And let's not forget his continued advocacy for women's sports, using his platform to push for more opportunities and recognition.
Yeah, he was constantly pushing boundaries. I remember watching the memorial service at Staples Center, just incredibly moving. Vanessa Bryant's words about Kobe as a father, about Gianna and her bright future, it was heartbreaking. And Michael Jordan saying he felt like he'd lost a part of himself, you could feel the weight of that loss. It was a true collective moment of grief and remembrance.
And even the way the NBA paid tribute during the 2020 All-Star Game was unique. They changed the format of the fourth quarter, added 24 points to the leading team's score after 3 quarters, making that the target score, another nod to his number. It was competitive, but also incredibly respectful.
It really was.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, when you think about Kobe's lasting impact, it boils down to that unwavering spirit, his incredible work ethic, that absolute refusal to give up. You still see young players trying to imitate that fadeaway jumper, and you hear stories of people in all walks of life adopting that Mamba mentality to achieve their goals.
It's remarkable how his dedication to his craft, that pursuit of excellence, has become such a widely admired principle. His influence stretches so far beyond basketball. He's this powerful example of what you can achieve through hard work and focus.
So when you reflect on January 26, 2020, it's a reminder of how precious life is, but also of the profound impact a single person can have. Kobe Bryant was more than just an athlete. He was a legend. His memories, inspiration, his legacy, they live on, Mamba forever. And hopefully, for you listening, this deep dive has given you a better understanding of why that day was so significant and why his impact continues to be felt so strongly today.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.